Hello guesties, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video I will be explaining the ghost iceberg that I found on Reddit. With no further ado, I will get onto the first tier. First is nameless ghouls. This just refers to the musicians that make up the band. They are called nameless ghouls because until the 2016 lawsuit they were anonymous. And ghoul comes from the fact that in ghosts lore the band are literal ghouls summoned from hell to perform in a satanic band. The second point in the iceberg is Tobias Forge. I believe this is here because it comes as a shock for most people to find that he is the person behind each of the singers, except obviously Papa Nihil. Next is new Papa with each album. Which is exactly what it says, it just means that with every album cycle the Papa is replaced. Like the first video on my Ghost Lore playlist, which shows Papa Primo handing over the microphone to his younger brother Papa Secondo, or later Papa Terzo being dragged off the stage. The last point in this tier is 5 Papas. I believe this refers to the fact that most people are first made aware of the Papas played by Tobias Forge that have been the frontman of the band in real life, which are Primo, Secondo, Terzo and Copia. And then they find out about Papa Nihil, and it can be confusing because the band started in 2008 and then you learn that he was the singer in the 60s. This is simply part of the lore. In the lore, the Ministry of Ghost has been around for Satan knows how long, and in the 60s they wanted to become more popular and pose a real opposition to the church, so started a band. It then goes that the band fizzled out or perhaps went underground until 2008 when Papa Primo was the singer. The second tier begins with Hunter's Moon in Halloween Kills, which refers to the fact that Ghost wrote the song Hunter's Moon specifically to be featured in the 2021 movie Halloween Kills. It is also worth knowing that recently the band released merchandise with Papa Terzo's face on, featuring the slogan from Halloween, "He's back." The next point is lawsuit, which I will explain briefly. So basically in 2016 some of the former members of Ghost filed a lawsuit against Tobias Forge for supposed embezzlement. The case was dismissed because they were lying, but they are still bitter about it even though it's likely they were never on the receiving end of death threats. Papa Dollars is in reference to confetti fired from a cannon during the live performance of the song Mummy Dust that look like American dollars and feature lots of the band's imagery such as the number 666 and faces of different characters in the lore. A final gig named Death was a show in Mexico City on the 3rd of March 2020. It was the show where Papa Nihil had a heart attack and died from his sax solo during miasma, and a ritual was performed with the cardinal where he ascended to Papa. Sister is a phonetical way of spelling the way that the Italian Papas pronounce the sister in Sister Imperator. Scooby-Doo chase music is what some metal elitists call ghost music, and you might also want to know that in Ghost's mockumentary, Metal Myths Ghost Part 2, they explain why different historical and current events are caused by Ghost. One of these events is the release of the first airing of Scooby-Doo acoustic shows. Could be referring to a few things because I think these icebergs are designed to be vague, but I think it might be on about the Sirius XM hard rock acoustic session with Terzo from 2015 where he demonstrates his expertise on the kazoo. Propaganda Episodes refers to 2 videos released by Ghost that document their time on tour and have some awesome interview moments with Phil. Mary on a Cross is about weed is exactly what it sounds like literally. When Papa sings this song live he always sings marijuana and makes a show of getting the crowd to as well. Funko Pops is kind of a mystery to me other than the fact there are Funko Pops of Nihil, Primo, Secondo, Terzo, and Copia, but maybe that's all it means. If you have any other insights feel free drop a comment. Subvision is the band that Tobias Forge, Martin Persner, Gustav Lindström and Simon Soderberg were in before Ghost. I highly recommend you listen to their music as it's so amazing. It has sort of Meliora keyboard vibes, but it's also quite different from Ghost and very unique overall, and I promise if you like the Ghost stuff Tobias and Martin wrote together you're bound to like. Subvision 2. Zenith is the next point, and if you're just finding Ghost now then you're damn lucky. There is a Ghost song called Zenith you've probably heard. It's truly ear magic and such a concentrated Ghost sound that was so obviously written by Tobias and Martin. Up until the 1st of December 2023 it remained unreleased, and the only way you could listen to it was if you bought the very expensive and exclusive vinyl that it was on or listened to a YouTube recording of someone else's. Priest is a synthwave band created by Linton Rubino and Mauro Rubino, who were part of the lawsuit against Tobias Forge. It is a blatant rip-off of Ghost and features 3 masked musicians known as Mercury the vocalist, Salt the keyboardist, and Sulfur the additional keyboardist, and the third album is produced by Simon Soderberg, who was also involved in the lawsuit. Nihal plays the saxophone refers to the fact that in a few of the episodes Nihal is shown complaining about how he misses being famous and wants to be Papa again. So when Copia became the frontman he wrote a song called Miasma where Nihal gets to play a saxophone solo. Magna Carta Cartel is a band that Martin Persner, Arvid Persner, Per Glendor and Niels Nielsen currently perform in, and Tobias Forge and Simon Soderberg used to play in. Sisters of Sin are a group within Ghost's ministry that are featured being baptized in the He Is music video and on stage some of the time. They are exactly like sisters in the church because Ghost's Satanism is just a inversion of the church used to criticize it. The Sister of Sin program is basically where you can apply to be a Sister of Sin at your ritual and you get to dress up and participate and stuff. If you wanna know how, I suggest browsing Reddit. Ghoul Nicknames is on here because it is not the band that decide on the ghouls' nicknames, it is the fans. Except for Sodomizer because his nickname was from before he joined the band Ghost, but their name basically corresponds with their element and it's just whatever sticks, I'm pretty sure. Kazoo is next on here, which makes me doubt my explanation of acoustic shows because they would be the same explanation according to my logic, so I don't know. Billy Vanilla is the nickname of Ghost's merch guy from 2013 until 2018. Lots of people say is very nice and did a lot for the Sister of Sin program. Ghost BC is what the band is called legally because to be signed to Loma Vista it was discovered that another band owned the copyright to Ghost, so they added BC, which stands for because of copyright. However, they are still called Ghost because, as quoted by a nameless ghoul, the BC is silent, and since they are the most popular Ghost they are just called Ghost now. Message from the Clergy is the message that appears on every official release by Ghost on their Instagram and YouTube and everything. Repugnant is a band that Tobias Forge used to be in. Here he was the singer and guitarist. He played a character called Mary Gore, and if you're looking for something heavier I recommend listening to them. Although you can only listen to their song Spawn of Pure Malevolence on Spotify, you can find uploads of their full 2 albums on YouTube. Ghost on Metallica Blacklist refers to their cover of the Metallica song Enter Sandman. The Metallica Blacklist was an album released by Metallica in September 2021 that featured covers of every one of their songs from the Black Album. Half the proceeds from these covers went to Metallica's charity foundation and the other half went to a charity of the artist's choice. If you're curious, the Enter Sandman money went to Camp Aranuik, which is a summer camp for trans kids. Onto Tier 3, starting with Copia is the child of Nihal and Sister Imperator. In Chapter 8 of Ghost's Lore there is a scene that confirms Sister is pregnant and she was dating Nihal at the time, and in Chapter 9 it is confirmed that Sister is Pupa's mother. Plus Copia also has the one dark eye one white eye thing that all the other Pupas confirmed to be in the bloodline have. Copia before his ascension isn't Tobias. I have no idea. This makes no sense to me, and I even had a little look on Reddit and didn't find anything other than people being confused that the Pupas look different, but that's obvious because he wears masks. You can tell because of the lips. Papa 3 being pulled off stage. This is in reference to his last live show where he is dragged off stage and shortly after replaced by Cardinal Copia in the first episode. La Mantra Mori is in reference to a partially released song from Infestissumum that isn't available on Spotify in most places and isn't on the album. Colbert live show. As far as I can tell, all this is that Colbert is a very religious person and Ghost performed on his show and he was nice to them, or he let them perform or something, and I guess that's significant because Christians usually don't take kindly to Ghost. Dance Macabre, Carpenter Brut version. Basically Carpenter Brut did a remix of Dance Macabre and it's very 80s, even though Ghost already sounds 80s, and if you look in the comments section on YouTube it's cute old people freaking out about how 80s it sounds. I don't know if there's any more significance to it. Copia plushie is pretty self-explanatory in that there is a red plushie of Copia, a black one, and a white one, and a Popia one, which is a nickname for Copia as Papa. Infestissumum commentary version is a version of the second album Infestissumum where Nameless Ghoul Phil talks about it and explains some things. You can find this on Spotify. Omega unmasking video refers to a video uploaded by Claudio Marino in which Martin Persner reveals his role as Omega and announces the return of the band Magna Carta Cartel that Claudio Marin is also in. Trick or Treat Studio is a cosplay shop that sells or maybe sold Ghost cosplay items, and there was a lot of unhappy fans because things kept arriving in bad condition or not true to size, or they didn't turn up on time or at all. Deezer live session was, well, a live session with Ghost. Other than the fact that you can really hear the bass and it sounds so freaking amazing, I don't know what's important except maybe the cool scream Papa does around 13 minutes in during Absolution, or the funny editing that has a lot of memes about it. Sympathy for the Devil cover. This is in reference to Ghost covering the Rolling Stones song Sympathy for the Devil, and everyone thinks it's the best because it's just insanely good and everyone should hear it. I don't know if this cover has some other significance that I'm unaware of, so feel free to leave a comment if you know anything I don't. Plague Doctors. In the Dance Macabre music video there are plague doctors at the house party where young Sister Imperator and Papa Nihal are serenaded in blood. Papa Nihal's mitre also has a gold embroidery above the red band and towards the middle that looks like a kneeling plague doctor skeleton. So yeah, they appeared in the Dance Macabre music video. And then 57 weeks and 3 days later they had plague doctors appear on stage at a ritual in London for about 30 seconds. Papa 4 had plastic surgery. I'm honestly not sure why this is in the third tier as it is in one of the episodes, so not exactly niche. But year after Papa was promoted from Cardinal to Papa, he had plastic surgery and his face looks totally different now. Papa DILDO and BUTTPLUG. I'll keep this really effing short because my mother watches my videos, so basically in May 2013 Ghost released the aforementioned And Then Again, kinda quietly, in 2017 and also 2023. Haha anyway. Ores Ray. This is just Year Zero backwards. It is the B-side of the Year Zero single vinyl. It sounds like gibberish to me, but people on Reddit probably have theories because people on Reddit always have theories. White Papa Primo and Ghouls. Basically, during what I believe to be their first North American tour, it was summer and very hot, so Papa and the Ghouls wore white so they didn't die of heatstroke or something. Copia cape refers to a cape that Copia wore as cardinal. It was first in a photoshoot, then during concerts, and I believe it is significant because Copia's character is based on Vincent Price aesthetically, who was an actor who is from all those old horror movies. Copia on Emigrate's I'm Not Afraid, Emigrate's 2018 album, which was actually first recorded in 2015 but was destroyed in a flood in 2017. Featured Cardinal Copia on the song I'm Not Afraid, which it's like what? Worlds collide. I effing love Richard. Anyway. The next point is Masked Ball. This is a song from the 1999 soundtrack Eyes Wide Shut. It is played in the beginning of each ritual after the doors open and before the support act, and it can be partially heard at the beginning of their live album Ceremony and Devotion. Ghost X Batman is a reference to a comic Batman death metal Ghost edition in which Papa Emeritus IV is featured. Statues. I don't know if they mean merch, but if they do, then basically there are little statues you can buy of the Papas and the Ghouls. If not the merch, then it could be in reference to the Spillways music video where in the background there is a statue that I'm pretty sure is Matthew, as it is depicted with a book, and I don't even know if it was intentional or just part of the place where they filmed. A special ghoul named Phil is a sort of inside joke in the fandom because there was a Nerdist interview with Tobias as a nameless ghoul where the interviewer was nervous of how to address him, so gave him a name tag reading Phil. Snoop Dogg photo is a photo of Secondo posing with Snoop Dogg, but this might also be referring to the fact that before the lawsuit Tobias was sort of anonymous. If you just casually heard of Ghost, you wouldn't know of anyone other than Papa, but if you were like a more obsessed fan, you knew it was him. Plus he used to go and meet some people after a show, but basically Snoop Dogg posted a picture on his Instagram with Tobias mentioning a Ghost concert and very kinda, outed him as Papa. Red 8-track of Prequel is in reference to a limited edition Spotify tape, where basically Ghost's top 50 listeners got an exclusive 8-track tape. Mary Gore is the character Tobias used to play when he was the singer and guitarist for the band Repugnant. Mary canonically uses he/they pronouns, and Tobias has said in an interview there is a timeline for their return. There really isn't much on him other than headcanons, so I will leave you with the advice to head to Tumblr if you really wanna know. The Summoning. The Summoning is a series of videos that I'll let you watch yourself. They're from Terzo's era and you can find them in my Lore playlist or on Ghost's YouTube channel. Papa's wearing sunglasses. The only thing I can think of that this could be meaning is that both Secondo and Terzo seem to have an affinity for sunglasses and can be seen in music videos and acoustic sessions wearing them. Iron Maiden video game. So there's a video game called Iron Maiden Legacy of the Beast, and they posted a teaser on Twitter, X, of a Papa silhouette with a Thurible action figures. This could either be referencing the existence of Papa and Ghoul action figures or the message written on the back that says warning, no racism, sexism or homophobia. Here Comes the Sun refers to their Beatles cover that is pretty rare as a bonus track on the Japanese edition of the first album Opus Eponymous. Christian Protests refers to the fact that a few of their concerts have reached the news or been met with protests by the Christians. This is referenced a little in the Summoning videos as well. The last point of Tier 3 is Dance Macabre Instagram story. which seems pretty random to me, but the only thing I can think that it is meaning is that the director of the Dance Macabre music video posted a story on his Instagram that said Dance Macabre soon. Nerds. Papa 3 is still alive. This is a theory you will encounter as a Ghost fan because every millennial fan is effing obsessed with Terzo, but I don't really care because I'm young and hip, so the theory goes that at 2:44 in Chapter 3 Terzo's foot twitches, meaning he's alive, and some other things like the He's Back merch for Halloween. Papa 3 with creator in German TV show refers to a performance where the band creator are playing and Papa Terzo is there. For some reason also interesting to look at the art for creator's album Terrible Certainty. The statue-like figures look a bit like the Papas and the Cardinal. Movie references in album covers refers to the fact that the opus eponymous artwork is inspired by Salem's Lot. The Infestissumum art is inspired by Amadeus. The If You Have Ghost art is clearly inspired by Nosferatu. The Meliora art is inspired by one of the greatest movies of all time, Metropolis. Although, little tangent, M is actually the best movie by Fritz Lang. The Pope Star artwork is inspired by the Seventh Seal apparently. The prequel artwork is inspired by a combination of bestial devastation and a famous portrait of Pope Innocent X. The Emperor artwork is inspired by Aleister Crowley, who was an English occultist, philosopher, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist and mountaineer who founded the religion of Thelema. The Year Zero single art was inspired by the engraving, Satan presiding at the Infernal Council, which sounds more like a Fall Out Boy title to me than an engraving, but also I don't know like literally any other engravings, so I guess it would. The Cerise single art is obviously inspired by Silence of the Lambs. The Majesty single art is inspired by King Kong. The Zenith promotional single is inspired by Rosemary's Baby. The Pope Star Tour art is inspired by the Vitruvian Man. The Clockwork Tour shirt is inspired by A Clockwork Orange. The Papa Tour shirt from 2014 is inspired by Jaws. The Halloween Papa Terzo shirt is inspired by the Halloween franchise. The Here's Papa shirt is inspired by The Shining. The Pinnacle to the Pit single is inspired by Atom Age Vampire. The Alchemist shirt is a reference to a holy mountain character. The Terzo Sigil shirt is inspired by the Ghostbusters and just like so many more. Dave Grohl played on If You Have Ghost. Exactly what it says on the recording of the album. Dave Grohl played drums I think and produced the EP. Copia and Terzo dabbing. The Papas dab. Terzo started doing it during Con Clavi Con Dio if I remember, and then Copia did it too. 2013 Mexico concert. Basically when Papa Secondo stepped down and Papa Terzo became the singer, there was a mishap with the mask and I think it basically didn't get there on time, so he wore a weird kinda shiny looking thing that looks a little closer to Secondo's makeup than Terzo's, but yeah, if you wanna see, that's also in my playlist. Well of Souls live cover. Basically at what I think is a Candlemas concert, Papa came out and sang the song Well of Souls with them and it sounds effing amazing. Just listen to that vocal range, like it's insane. Papa Secondo introducing Danzig. I don't really get the significance of this, but at the Golden Gods Awards Papa Secondo took off his hat. But anyway, it was really sweet because him taking his hat off was a tribute type thing for Jeff, who died, and then he announces the band. Bjorn Ulvaeus holding the Secular Haze single. I can't find anything on this, so I guess it's like a photo or something of old Swedish guy holding a CD or something. Papas based on like scary people. I briefly mentioned how Cardinal Copia is based on Vincent Price. And in addition to that, Secondo is based off of Anton LaVey. Terzo is Bela Lugosi. And Primo is the only one not based on someone, because Papa Secondo was, I believe, when Tobias started getting the masks custom made. First Canon concert back in 1969. I have mentioned in passing that Tobias plays all of the papas except Nihil. This is because in real life Nihil was never the frontman. So yeah, Papa Nihil was the one at the concert in 1969 and was the first Papa, in the law, to be in the band. Papa Secondo casual suit is on about the fact that during some interviews and acoustic sessions Papa wouldn't wear his paints, and he was definitely the Papa whose face we saw most, unless you count Copia as the Cardinal. Christmas photo. This is in reference to this picture. Basically in 2020 Ghost made a post on their Instagram of them celebrating break in the tour. Hetfield on first US tour. Basically when Ghost played for the first time in America in San Francisco in 2012, James Hetfield went to see them at a small venue with like 350 people. One of the nameless ghouls said in a Music Radar interview that he came backstage after the show and they were all in their underwear, and he even told the interviewer, "Come to think of it, I've met James many times in my underwear. It's crazy. The guy is like royalty to us." Ceremony and Devotion was a live DVD. I really don't know about this one, and my Reddit prowling has not yielded anything, so maybe this means that the live album, Ceremony and Devotion, was actually supposed to be a DVD or something. Tobias isn't in much of Rats / he is. In the Rats music video, a professional dancer was hired to wear Copia's mask. So if you see Cardinal dancing in Rats, that's not Tobias, and I guess it's the same as with He Is. Ghost Burger. In Chicago there is a burger place called Kuma's Corner that has a Burger of the Month from February 2023 that is themed of Ghost. Cowbell Ghoul. Cowbell was a nameless ghoul from Turzo's era played by Niels Nielsen, who would come out at different points during the rituals and play the cowbell, so exactly what it sounds like. The albums tell a story. This is a very long point, so bear with, and thanks to deleted user on Reddit from 6 years ago, because I most definitely could not have thought of most of the interpretations, but yeah, pretty self-explanatory in that each album tells a story. Starting with Opus, the first track Deus Culpa can be translated as, through the fault of God. Society is in a state much like medieval Europe here. The word of God rules the mortals. Listening to the chord progression, you can hear what sounds almost exactly like what you would before and during a church service. With all the minor chords, it also helps set the vibe that this is archaic and scary. The next song, Con Clavi Con Dio, which can be translated as, with nails, with God. One of the more frequent lyrics that can be heard is, Siamo con il nostro con Dio scuro, which translates as, we come with our dark God, referencing Satan. So a bunch of Satanists wish to banish the corrupt church from the world, but not for the betterment of humanity but for their own purpose. The next song, Ritual, carries on the Satanists' arrival. Hear the word of the dark God. They are instructed to provide and prepare the circumstances for which Lucifer's son, the Antichrist, is to be born. Human sacrifices are made, innocent virgin blood is spilled, unholy prayers are sung, etc. Elizabeth. The next track starts with the church not having any of this crazy Satan talk, and still a majority of the population are questioning and shaming all this Satan stuff. The emissary laughs at them, saying how humanity has been taken for fools since the beginning of time. This song in particular highlights the plight of the Hungarian Countess Elizabeth Bathory, a well-believed serial killer, heretic and devil worshipper. The emissary also outwardly professes that he too wishes to influence the common people. The next track, Stand By Him, is where the population sees the emissary's point. that the church is corrupt and untrustworthy. However, they are still not sold on his new idea. For as long as people stand with the dark god, their vengeance against the prior oppressors and their subsequent destruction is assured. What the emissary does not tell them, though, is how destructive the power of Satan is. Satan Prayer is the next track, which has us convinced that the populace has slowly begun to pull away from the church and into the black mass. So for the Antichrist to arrive, he must first be conceived. The emissary leads a search for a suitable virgin with whom the devil shall conceive, quite literally the foil of Jesus. Death Knell is about the forced conception of the Antichrist, the rape of a woman who ends up bearing the devil's son. Prime Mover carries on where the Antichrist is conceived, and much like how angels told the world of a coming savior, the emissary sends his followers to tell the world of the woman who bears the son of the Dark Lord. Word of the Antichrist and his imminent arrival is spread. Though the emissary is growing old and weak, he knows he himself may never see the arrival of the dark sun, but he knows the child of the grave, the underworld, is upon civilization. He dies knowing society will soon follow him. Genesis is about the months leading up to, and the birth of the Antichrist. Bitter by the betrayal of the church, the public is ready for the arrival of their new savior. The acoustic guitars at the end probaby represent how gentle and vulnerable the newborn is, even though he will one day grow into the most hostile man of all. The second album, Infestissumum Explained, is thanks to u/Zinc35 on Reddit. The first track, Infestissumum, is nothing more than a prayer celebrating the birth of the Antichrist, basically a liturgical song to the devil's son. Perispera, as in Opus Eponymous, is where humanity is still losing faith in the church. This song is an acclaim for the Antichrist, like they're saying, "Please free us and take us with you." The song name translates to, "through hardships to hell," so we can assume that is a desperate request from humanity. Secular haze acts as much like a, "Thank you, Satan, for freeing society from the church," and a provocation to God in a certain way, saying that he is no more on people's thoughts. So essentially humanity is now happy with Satan as their new god. Gigolo Ha Megiddo, quite an apocalypse song. Megiddo is a real place in Palestine which is believed to be the final battle of God against devil. This song in general is much like a Lucifer's letter to the people and how there's no turning back from what has happened. Gula/Zombie Queen is mainly about how darkness rising is now through the world, and also a love song for Satan's heretic goddess, of course, which stands by the zombie queen that will rise again and sit by his side on the throne once Satan's plan is complete. Year Zero. In the calendar, the year of Jesus's birth is marked as the year zero, so this is basically the beginning of a new era. The birth of the Antichrist marks a new year zero. Body and Blood references the Christian tradition at the ending of Mass where they drink wine and eat bread, and it represents Jesus, or in transubstantiation it actually is the body and blood of Christ. And the lyrics leave us no doubt that there are Satanists here laughing at praises of God and Jesus, like they're saying, "Hey, my Savior is alive and here." Idolatrine, as said by the band, is a mixing of the words idolatry and latrine. The song is about seeing how stupid it is to let the church guide you, putting in your head things that make you believe you're committing sins, or that you're going to burn in hell, as if you were a latrine to these kinds of thoughts. The lyric, "Idolatrine for the imbeciles," demonstrates how people are tired of all the dogmatic things that Christianity imposed on them. Depth of Satan's Eyes demonstrates how the society found in Satan an answer for their questions, forgetting the Bible's lies and the Church's words. Satan is now the answer for everything, and the people can see it through his eyes. Finally, Monstrance Clock is a classic ritual, whereby the sound of the monstrance clock. All minds are aligned and the black candles burn with one purpose: praise Lucifer's son as the parish is taken away by the smoke and the assemble sway. All the people are reunited with one thing in mind: come together as one for Lucifer's son. The first track on Meliora, Spirit, the prologue, is setting the tone of the absence of a deity in which Meliora is based around. Listening to the lyrics, throw yourself into the vessel of possibilities, 7 seals, devilish creatures profess the end of time. The song serves as a warning for a society that has, ironically, rejected its spirituality. Continue on this dark path, continue serving your own selfish interests and it will be your undoing. From the pinnacle to the pit where our story actually starts, it deals with, unlike Infestissumum, not necessarily Satan's presence but his influence and how knowledge and secularism can stray people from their spirituality. It retells the tale of Lucifer's banishment into hell and how he wears his independence like a crown, becoming the king of the underworld. He begins to assert his influence over man, slowly robbing them. Cerise, superficially, can be seen as a dark love song or some really creepy stalker, and they've also gone on record saying it's a critique on religion, particularly with how the Catholic Church indoctrinates people. As part of this story, Cerise also serves as an indoctrination of sorts. Satan begins luring people into his influence and away from the more godly society. I can hear the thunder that's breaking in your heart. I can see through the scars inside you. Satan can see past personal fears and sees people's deplorable actions not as sins but the true nature. Satan is successful in luring people away from God. Spokesonat, though an instrumental, the way the harp is played is almost seductive. With Satan's success in luring people under his influence, people begin seeing their society transform, industrialize, modernize. He ties into the previous song. People still singing their praises about Satan, seeing how instrumental he is to their society as the provider of knowledge. The one who'll show them the way, the shining in the light without whom I cannot see. The very last words of the song are telling, and we are falling over the precipice. With these words, society knows it's crossing the point of no return. There is no escape anymore as they leave the godliness behind in favor of the meaning of the album's title itself, a pursuit of something better. Mummy Dust, separate from the album, a critique of greed and money and how it influences society. Based, at this point in our story, society's departure from godliness and into secularism has long taken mental root into people. The physical transformation of society begins to take shape. What you can see on the cover of Meliora. Skyscrapers as high as the eye can see. Smog, airships, a monument to their new savior, Papa, are all constructed as a black mass of followers congregate. Satan is reveling in all of this. His worshippers believing what he's saying, which he knows to be moral bull. In God you trust, my mummy dust. Majesty, while he is a much more romantic, more hymnal praise of Satan. Majesty is far more fanatical and outright down on all fours, foot kissing. With their new society built, people's worship of Satan becomes fanatical, iconoclastic, and fundamentalist. He's sitting scared and profound in a midst of sinners looking up to kiss his crown, kneeling down before his clout. Satan has set out what he's accomplished, but is slowly becoming bored with humanity. Devil Church, continued blinding of society through the wash of Satan. Quite literally the music inside what Ghost would imagine a devil church to sound like. The trailing off of the organ at the very end signals something's wrong. Absolution. Naysayers within the Satanic Society are beginning to come out of the closet. This is a back and forth between Satan and the very few that still believe in God and those that reject the false narrative that Satan's imposed on their society. All the things that you desire, you will find them in the fire, Satan argues. Meanwhile, those who see the wrongdoing in their worship of him are crying out, crying back to God for absolution, for forgiveness at the horror they've unleashed upon themselves. Deus in absentia. The most haunting revelation of all. The great society that has been built is starting to decay. Whether it's a physical decay, or their moral decay is unclear. But people are shocked at what's happened and how far gone they've become. They plea out for the help o' God, their Creator that they willingly abandoned, but He does not answer. They realize how, so goddamn frail, their beliefs are, seeing how easily their minds are manipulated at the temptation of bettering their society. After Satan abandons them, people cry out, Deus. There is no answer. They come to the conclusion that either God has truly abandoned them after rejecting his teachings so adamantly or had never truly existed, nor did Satan. And people were only being toyed by dogmas and desires all along. Whatever the case, the cracks in their beloved society continue to grow, all within a haunting, spiritual silence. Zenith. Our epilogue. It's unclear what's happened of this great society, but there are survivors. They've conquered the magic, deciphered the clockwork of religion. Nevertheless, they cling to the light of not religion, but hope and faith in one another that things will get better. Several other survivors, still caught in their delusional worship of either God or Satan, are urges to move on, to come unleashed from the shackles of false hope and dogma and to forge ahead together towards a brighter future so that mankind can truly live, saecula saeculorum, forever and ever. From the ashes of disaster grow the roses of success. The penultimate album prequel's first track Ashes starts with creepy singing children, so perhaps it's the child at the end of the apocalypse. Surrounded by bodies, singing to herself and not understanding the gravity of the situation. It's sort of like the "This is the story of how I died" opening line where the narrator is looking backwards on recent events. Rats. There's an infestation of literal and metaphorical plague rats in the world. And through our lawless actions we let them in, and now they're infecting everything and destroying everything. Through all the destruction and mayhem they're still coming after you, and there's nothing you can do. Faith. Likely from God's POV as the villain. God is all eyes, all ears. He watched Lucifer fall from grace millennia ago and now is watching us do the same. He is not going to take this lying down. See the light, likely from Satan's POV. At this point God has made his anger known to humanity, and Satan responds by further tempting people to keep worshipping him with drinking and eating him as Christians do with Jesus. See the light is also sort of a soliloquy for the devil where he explains his motives, hate, and his actions, acquire worship. Miasma. This goes back to the plague the rats were carrying. Think of the song as a virus. It follows a pattern, and each time it repeats, it mutates to avoid recognition, or in this case adds instruments. And it also builds in intensity as more people come down with the virus. By the end, when the sax comes in, you have a full pandemic. Dance macabre. The plague from rats and miasma is actually the dancing plague. This song focuses on a pair of lovers who are pretty aware they can't stop dancing even though they probably should, because they're starting to get tired. Pro memoria. The dancing plague is starting to kill people. It's a pandemic. So no matter where you look, you can't forget about dying. You can't forget about your old friend death. And you will die too, probably soon. Satan can't save his worshippers, so he kinda gives up around here. Which image? It's starting to set in with humanity that this is really a God-sent plague as punishment for going astray and worshipping the devil in his absence. There's a lot of panic and regret. But we can't undo what we've done or unsell the souls we have sold. Helvetus Fonster. This song is a musical tour through Dante's circles of hell: 1 limbo, 2 lust, 3 gluttony, 4 greedy, 5 anger, and 6 heresy. Life eternal. Remember those lovers from Dance Macabre with the dancing plague? They're back, or at least one of them. The other died of the dancing plague. And this one is left saying their lover's name forever, longing for them forever in vain. Life eternal is also a callback to Zenith, because Zenith backing vocals are chanting Saecula Saeculorum, which in English would be forever and ever, which is chanted in the back of Life Eternal. Lastly, we have the latest album, Impera, the first track, Imperium. After the decimated and hopeless world we left behind in prequel, we have the desolate space represented by an acoustic guitar. This is quickly overtaken by a more powerful electric guitar and militaristic drums, heralding a new era. The acoustic remains, signaling that the lack of emptiness is a facade. Additionally, the guitar is reminiscent of Helvetes Fonster, signifying the new empire being built from the ashes of the old. Caesarion. An introduction to the world. A new force, who I'll refer to as the Brotherhood for the sake of simplicity, is seeking to cleanse the world of perceived ills, namely the stresses of labor. Another deadline whistling past your ears: pollution, Mother Earth calling for a father up above, and most importantly the hypocrisy of the former faith, the entire second pre-chorus. However, attempting to rid themselves of these problems, they repeat the mistakes of the past by executing educated women whom they deem satanic, akin to the Hypatia of old, and justify it through their faith, the smell of burning temples swept away by rhymes. Spillways. We zoom in to focus on one of the Brotherhood, the soon-to-be Emperor, who is similarly attempting to rid themselves of impure thoughts and curses, their maledictions, through good faith. However, the darkness is a part of them. They need it to feel alive, and giving into the darkness, symbolized by the stripping of their outward appearance, their skin and spine to dispel the corpus dei or body of God, feels good. They have a need to let it out. But doing so only feeds their inner demons, their cruelty. And every day you feed them with hate, they grow stronger. Call me Little Sunshine. One of the beasts, Mephistopheles, reaches out to the Emperor and offers them an explicitly Faustian pact. By calling him, the Emperor will be transformed indefinitely from someone subject to the issues of the current order, the prey, and into the one who controls the situation, the hunter. Hunter's Moon. The Emperor sets out on his new path, overtly jaded against the current way of things, and begins by either metaphorically or literally killing off his past connections through his friends and family, giving into his darker powers. This is akin to members of the far right distancing themselves from their loved ones as they fall deeper into the ideology. Watcher in the Sky. The Emperor has gained followers who are entranced by his Machiavellian grace, believing he will guide them to a better world than the one they're currently living in. Through this belief they have given into other ideas, such as conspiratorially believing they can use modern technology to definitively find the truth of the world, and believing in eugenical ideas of great bloodlines seen through nonsensical, kaleidoscopic visions and predestined leaders who will set forth as the current empire collapses. Dominion. The horns announce the ascension of the Emperor, sounding out a darkly triumphant moment in his life. A new empire, built on the ashes of an old 20s. The emperor sets about making grand promises of change for his subjects, years of sex, money and war against those who would stand against them. But in doing so he repeats the mistakes of the past. Once again attacking the educated, those Ivy League dopes who question them. The tragedy of Hypatia occurring again. Darkness at the heart of my love, Mephistopheles once again sings to the emperor. He knows that his reign won't last forever, Summer will die eventually, and his ties to power will be severed. The emperor is also still caught up in his prior beliefs. Now using arcane rituals to summon his god, painting eyes to conjure what can only be the watcher in the sky which dry to no avail. And yet, despite this knowledge that the end is nigh and things aren't going anywhere, there's still a genuine connection that brought the two together in the first place which won't fully go away. The emperor will never walk alone, he can always reach for his demons and they will be with him always. Griftwood. A song with two voices. First is the emperor, reveling in his power, conjuring the image of religious suffering to appease his audience whilst in reality being adored and immaculate. Meanwhile the weak are sacrificed to cover this, being punished by the new laws and leading the way from shame. He asks if he's in the right, and he says yes. The second voice is one which questions his position, challenging the idea that he should live on high and play with the idea of Jesus, while being a religious leader. The Holy Mother Bridge offers us a glimpse into the prayers of this world, offering little but a conservative view of the purity of womanhood. Once again, a divide is created between heavenly ideal of motherly woman and the satanic idea of educating women like Hypatia. Old mistakes repeated by a new order. Lastly, bite of passage and respite on the Spitalfields. The cracks which formed over the last couple of songs have broken wide. The emperor has been revealed for the deceiver he was, and all that is left are the bodies of those he killed during his reign. In this instance, the never of religion has been used to leave desolation. Those who followed him were offered a taste of his dark power but received nothing. The dreams of wealth and fortune offered in 20s have been spent. Papaganda Episode 3. There is an unreleased Episode 3 of the Papaganda documentaries about Papa Secondo. Dance Macabre Nocturnal version. I don't really know what this means. There is a version of Dance Macabre that is called the Nocturnal version, but it's not that hard to find and, controversial opinion, I prefer the regular version. Titties and beer, that's why I'm here. It's a cup. Singles of Elizabeth and Secular Haze, they're just super rare. Not sure if they're any different or anything, but I've never come across them on YouTube or anywhere. Sermon during Body and Blood. I don't know what this means. I know I've said this a lot, but if anyone does, dropping a comment down below would be greatly appreciated. Dave Grohl is a nameless ghoul. This is a bit of a stretch, as during Terzo's era there was a lot of changing around because of the lawsuit, and so at like 2 shows in South America Dave Grohl played drums for them as a nameless ghoul. 4 different prequel covers. Basically there are 4 different versions of the cover art for prequel. I've heard they're all unique, but I don't really believe that because that would just be insanely hard, logistically. Hunter's Moon leaked in 2020. There was a merch website for the Halloween Kills movie that leaked the vinyl cover and whole existence of the song Hunter's Moon before it came out. Rusty NG masks. Alright, I heard about this a while ago and forgot some of it and can't find it anywhere, but basically at some point, perhaps during the lawsuit, the nameless ghoul, NG masks were stored improperly, meaning that the suits went moldy and the masks got rusty. Ghost alcohol. Basically they have an assortment of alcohols with their branding on. I remember reading a Reddit post about wine and I think they have some kinda spirit and my brain is telling me it is either vodka or whiskey. Or maybe brandy, I dunno. Anyway, yeah, next point. Hetfield plays Cerise. There is a video somewhere of like Metallica in their studio or something and he plays the intro to Cerise. Demo versions. There's a couple demos you can find floating around YouTube. 4 from Opus I remember, I think they were Elizabeth, Ritual, and some other ones. Haha, sorry I can't be of more help. Cardinal teased in Square Hammer. In the Square Hammer music video there is a red cardinal bird flying and that was a teaser because Cardinal is a cardinal and he also wears red sometimes. Private Faith music video. Basically there was a music video for the song Faith that has since been removed. If you try to watch it, it just says video not available in your country, so maybe people somewhere can watch it, but if you don't have a VPN or whatever, it's on Vimeo. Papa 3 without makeup. I don't really know what this is referencing other than sometimes we saw Papa without his papal paints and everyone thinks he's ugly, but I don't think so. I think it's unfortunate lighting sometimes and other times people are just weird or something. Different Copia sculpts. This could be referring to the fact that as Cardinal, Copia had a few different face types, like there were a couple of masks, possibly for different robes. Onto the 4th tier. If you're still here, TF didn't want to sing. Literally what it says. When Tobias first was planning the band, he wanted to be the guitarist and not the singer, but then he asked a load of people if they wanted to sing for him and they refused, so here he is, tender father, as Papa. The Devil's Hand. This is the title of a documentary where you can obviously learn a bit more about Ghost and you can actually kinda see who Billy Vanilla is, and yeah, it's on my channel and in my playlist unless I get copyright or something. Missionary Man condoms. I don't know what this is, but I also might have safe search on, so they did a cover of a song called Missionary Man, so I guess it has something to do with that. Papa 2 uncensored dick. I hope I can say this word, but anyway. In the Year Zero music video there is one normal version and one version with a lot of naked women, and there's one bit where Secondo just lifts his robes up. I've heard there's a body double and I've heard some other things, but if you wanna know you can do that yourself. Black and white version of Secular Haze. I dunno. Reddit and YouTube yield nothing, but I guess maybe somewhere there is a black and white version of the Secular Haze music video. Opus box set. I again am sorry because I don't know what this is. I guess from context it is a set of things that come with the record or something, like the Impera one, but I can't find anything to do with this online. Secret image in He Is. If you pause the He Is music video at 2 minutes and 9 seconds you will see a picture. I believe it is of Tony Alamo, who was an American pastor who founded a Christian cult and was arrested for tax evasion, fraud and child sexual abuse, and famously quoted that puberty is consent. He died a few days before they started filming and in the same state that they filmed. Nihal playing guitar. I have no idea. MySpace demo. Elizabeth and Death Knell were released on MySpace in 2010. I believe they were in Swedish. Fan sculpts. I don't really know what this means, but maybe it is referring to some kind of bust or perhaps a part of the cosplaying process. Music videos for Elizabeth, Body and Blood and Ritual. I genuinely don't know. I've never heard anywhere even a rumor of there being music videos for these songs, but to be fair, I'm not like some of those freaks on Reddit that like stalk Tobias or something. Cancelled Berlin acoustic show. Basically in like 2018 Ghost were gonna do an acoustic set, but there was some problems, so they instead did a Q&A with Tobias, and some of the answers we got were that some of the puppers may have procreated, so perhaps the bloodline is not over. that Meliora and Prequel were conceptualized at the same time and the producer chose to work on Meliora first, and that Tobias's favorite album is Meliora. 2 choirs for Infestus Humum. I can't find anything on this either. And like, no shade to whoever made this, but well, my first critique would be all the tiers are in the wrong order, and my second would be some of this is rumors or doesn't exist but too late to go back. Now sir, I'm gonna just add someone else's in at the end. But anyway, 2 choirs. I've heard that they struggled to find choirs for this because choirs are often Christian, especially Latin-speaking ones. And singing about Satanism might be a bit scary for them, but I guess it has something to do with that. Twins in chapters are TF's children. Exactly what it sounds like. Tobias has 2 children and they are the creepy twins that sometimes hang out with Nihil in the chapters. Wet Copia Mask. What the F? As expected, I couldn't find anything. This Redditor is getting on my nerves, lol. He is about TF dead brother. Just a little tangent. I hate how crude this sounds. But yeah, people just love starting rumors that different songs are about his brother. Like, maybe have some effing respect and let him be as private or as public as he wants and stop trying to bring his brother into everything. Papa 3 Mask in private collection. I really don't know, and from this point on I don't trust anything on this Redditor's iceberg of lies and rumors, so anything I find no evidence for will be ignored. Stand By Him and Death Knell were the first songs, and Swedish. Yep, you can find these on YouTube, I'm pretty sure, so I'll let you find those. Guesties. Papa 1 always wears his makeup. This belongs higher up, I think, but whatever. Yeah, we don't know what Primo actually looks like without his makeup, but who knows what the future holds. TF playing the ghouls in Rats. Surprising lack of evidence for this one. Shiver me effing timbers. Guesties. Papa 3 on Candlemas House of Doom. Papa Terzo is featured. I've not heard it, but I think he has a speech or something. Vodka lawsuit. There is a brand of vodka called Ghost, and Tobias managers are suing them because they have the same name and the band Ghost is better. Important to note that Tobias got a lot of hate for this, so I'm gonna point out it is his managers or PR team or someone doing this okay. Sombrero Copia. I can't find it now. Maybe I will in editing. But there is a picture where I believe that Tobias isn't wearing the mask, but the mask is on a mannequin or something wearing a sombrero. So yep, that's this significant apparently. Copia and Nihil TikToks. Oh, look at that. What a shocker. Way too effing vague. Sorry for swearing so much, mum. There are 2 Papa 3s. No. Do you know how to count? Woohoo, 6th tier. Only 1 more to go. OK, Cardinal's first appearance in Ceremony and Devotion promotion. Pretty sure this just isn't a thing. Moving swiftly onto the next one. There was only 1 Papa originally. Yeah, he was called Primo. I don't think Tobias had planned until like 2050 when he was like 30 or something working at a call center. Just an idea of mine. Ghost is a project by a century-old church. I dunno what this Reddit person means. The only possibilities I could think of by any stretch of the mind is that either the art on the front of Opus is of a real cathedral in Linköping, or that in the lore the band are real satanic puppers. And they started a band so they could be more popular than the Vatican one. Papa 3 Premier Mask. I think we went over this, but there was a mishap, so for the first few shows Terzo did, he was wearing the wrong face. Trivium foosball photo. Basically back in like 2012. Ghost played table football against a band called Trivium. The loser had to tour with Asking Alexandria as their opening act, and the winners got to go on tour with Opeth and Mastodon. Ghost 1. Papa 2 and NG Reddit accounts. Okay, if you wanna pretend this means anything, it could possibly be that there is, I think, a Twitter account called Nameless Ghouls. It's a fan page that gives updates and stuff and might have connections with how good they are. I only say I think because anything I hear about them comes from Reddit because I don't want Twitter. TF is a Freemason. This one is actually effing true. Screaming, crying, throwing up. You don't know how happy it makes me that something on here makes sense. Basically, we know Tobias is a Freemason because the Swedish Order of Freemasons magazine referred to him as brother, and also during the lawsuit the former band member accused the judge of having a conflict of interest because he was also a Freemason. But like lol, what, just because people are both part of the same group and believe the same stuff, like. Anyway. Armageddon in Danse Macabre. Basically, it's really hard to hear what he's singing in Danse Macabre, so for ages people thought it was like this. Yeah. And I'm loving it. But turns out it's more likely Cataclysm and Armageddon. Receding hairline Papa 3 mask. Again, pretty straightforward in that Terzo had a receding hairline. Hetfield is a nameless ghoul. Nope. Papa originally had 2 white eyes. Maybe they were kinda undiscovered before. And I am just assuming that it's Primo this person's on about because there's actually 5 Papas Hon. Nergal leaked TF's Aset identity. I assume this is the Nergal from Behemoth, not the Mesopotamian deity. Sorry, bad joke. Anyway, he posted on like Instagram or something a selfie of him and Tobias with the caption, "If you have ghost, you have everything," and a winky face emoticon. So yeah, this one has proof, so I guess the Snoop Dogg one was made up. Sorry about that. SecularHaze.com. I dunno. It says the domain is for sale, so Copia is the Antichrist theory. I don't personally believe this, I think it's just people wishing it's true, and I've never heard any evidence for this other than if you listen to Prime Mover. The Prime Mover written in 2009. Like seriously, Tobias literally said in an interview he didn't think of Copia until like 2015 or something, I dunno. And lol, sorry, the quality of this video is bad now. Pale tour named Death was teased in C&D. Unsubstantiated. Papa 3 original Mitre. What? Nihil playing the guitar. Again. Nothing. Copia on the couch. Super weird thing to have here, but there's a picture of Copia, sat on a couch. American Heterus thinks it's sexy. It is not. It is the Cardinal. On a couch. Early mask test photos. I don't know what to say about this, so you can just look. Pro Memoria pre-release version. You know something we don't know, Redditor. Feel free to share with the class babes. I'm so mean lol. Sorry. F you though. Vsauce is chapter 3. The hell is Vsauce? Is this a typo? Ghost knew about the corona pandemic. No, they didn't. Either they know history, which they do, and know that around the 20s every 100 years there is a pandemic and they predicted it. Or they knew history and all that and had no idea if there would or wouldn't be a pandemic and just wanted to do this album. Also remember the Q&A in Berlin. Meliora and Prequel were conceptualized at the same time, so like 2015. Copia's Thighs IG. Heterus. Papa 2 in webcomic. Terzo is in a comic called Dark Ride. I can't find a source for Secondo in a webcomic, but maybe I'm just looking in the wrong places. Fanfictions. Don't know why this is so low. But I don't know if this is talking about headcanon stuff like Mary Gore being a cannibal grave robber, or everyone shipping Terzo and Omega. Or if this is like olive oil or apple juice or coffee creamer or something, but, Mum, don't Google that. Papa Emeritus was an online nickname first. No, it wasn't. It was a joke because Pope Benedict the something is called Pope Emeritus. So yeah, that's finally it. I'm just gonna add some stuff you might wanna know because this iceberg was terrible. So concerts are called ritual. Maybe that should have been at the start, but oh well. Ironically, Ghost went viral twice, with first Mary on a cross and then Year Zero. He is super anti-technology and he probably wouldn't have known if his daughter didn't tell him. FU coat patch. People said they didn't like Copia's jackets, so he sued a patch reading FU into the side.
Bögar.